Okay, today we're going to talk about simplifying and scaling trustworthy information management. Because if you don't get it right, some of my historical experience has been that it can end up in the bin, in the round file, and people don't even read or even care about the requirements or the deliverables that you're interested in. So let's take a look. There are three things that our industry always focuses on and wants, and they are clarity and requirements, so we can be clear on what's needed, accountability and delivery, so that teams are on the hook for what's required, and then fair payment as they are delivering. Everyone should get paid for what they're doing. However, one of the challenges is that we're also famous for not having those exact same three things. And we end up in these typical miscommunication cycles where somebody interprets something as something else, and that miscommunication causes problems down the line. When I started using building information modeling, I thought it was going to be the savior and it was going to save everything. It was going to make everything much better. And I realized that we could use BIM for so many different things, whether it was for design or whether it was for analysis or clash or simulation, a whole bunch of different things. And in order to be able to use BIM for all of those different things, we needed maybe a different model with different information, different data, different representation, different geometry, reliability, accuracy, and a whole bunch of other different aspects. And in order to get that, I thought it was important for me to create a very robust, many pages, a BIM execution plan. And I was using Word to do that originally. And unfortunately, most people said, I don't give a crap. I don't care about it. And I used to create my information requirements using spreadsheets and following industry standards, and to create those requirements in a really detailed way. And I thought it was structured enough. But what happened was, people didn't get it. People didn't understand what I was asking for. And so the 3D models that were created from that, they might look good, but what actually happened was that they didn't really have the information that people needed. And maybe they were just looking for 2D drawings in the end of it. It wasn't contracted. It wasn't a process that was actually repeatable. And we ended up in kind of a bit of a miscommunication, being in situations where teams weren't getting exactly what they were needing. And that miscommunication in what we saw is that model being created maybe for one purpose and not used for that purpose, and drawings that weren't created on time or timelines that weren't met. And all of that miscommunication led to a lot of waste in our industry. And it still does. Over $3 trillion per year is wasted. And what I didn't know throughout the whole history as I worked, what I didn't realize was that actually all of that data, even though I was using Excel, it was still unstructured data. It wasn't robust. It wasn't created in a database. And actually, that's how a lot of data is created. It's unstructured. 90% of the data that we create in our industry is unstructured data. And unfortunately, what that causes is an even more jaw-dropping 96% of the data that's created is not even used. That's ridiculous. I mean, if you just think about that, the data that we're creating, people aren't actually using it in their day-to-day work. That's a big problem. So I tried to find out why. Why is this? Why does it occur? And I discovered the reasons were, unfortunately, because we create documents like I was doing for my BIM execution plan, and because we define requirements in an unclear way. Very flexible. Excel is a fantastic product, but it's not easy for a lot of people to interpret and use in a downstream workflow. It has to be structured data. Lots of Excel files also contain errors. Apparently 82% of Excel files have at least one error in them. And because we work in a silo-based industry and we share information, we throw it over the fence and we expect somebody else to use it in a way that we've defined it. We also work in a very disconnected world where we're creating files and maybe PDFing them, sending them on email. It becomes really problematic for people to understand, interpret, and manage. And also, we have deadlines that are closely approaching all of the time. We're under pressure, and we really have to get things done quickly. So there's a plethora of different challenges that we face in our industry. That's pretty obvious that nothing's going to go as planned because there's so many challenges, so many problems, so many challenges. It should be obvious that everything is going to end up over budget, over the duration that we're planning, and maybe not resolving, not getting the quality that we're looking for. But then in my career, I was really fortunate to get an offer that I absolutely couldn't refuse. And that was to put all of this in place with an amazing team. And we were able to get 30 different companies together and all of their technical leads and implement a world-class process in one of the world's biggest owners. And in this picture, you see some of the technology leadership from the architect, from the engineer, the contractor, the owner, all in the same room, all in the same place. And what we created was pretty magical. We created a whole complex of all of the different parts and responsibilities, from who was involved on the project, their roles and responsibilities, to what was going to be delivered, when it was going to be delivered, and a whole bunch of trackers. And it was all linked up, and it was in online spreadsheets. And we thought we were doing an amazing job. And it tasted yummy. It was like some spaghetti that we're tasting. It was really nice. But unfortunately, what we ended up creating was a little bit of a mess. And this spreadsheet spaghetti, it needed an administrator full time to be able to manage it. And what we realized was actually there was probably something that we could do better. And we were a little bit despondent, but then we got the opportunity, some of that team, to create something even better. And we had this what if moment where we said, what if we could create something that was a central hub for all of those projects and all of the templates and all of the connected systems in one place and all of the teams? What if we could do that for starters? And what if we could drive it with those templates and in one click create documents, but there were structured documents driven from database fields that were also assigned to have accountability for team members. And those database fields you fill in once and it completes anywhere that field is used, and have the ability to have accountability tied to the actual progress and the publishing of those. And what if they were all many documents in the same place? And we said, what if we could connect that into a dictionary? And the Building Smart Data Dictionary is exactly that. So you can start typing and it will generate you the exact requirements based on the dictionary that you've selected. So the coding and the classifications are all correct. And what if you could combine all of those different spreadsheets that we had in different files and different tabs in one place? And what if you could combine that with the responsibility matrix so that you could have everything for the architect, the engineer, the structural, here the mechanical engineer, and down to the detailed requirements and the properties that were being asked for. So you could see exactly any type of data, whether it be a Boolean, a pick list, a cost, any type of data field could be defined. Here they're defining the parametrices requirements based on level of information need. And what if every task in that plan could automatically be scheduled, programmed in a timeline with dependencies to understand who does what and what the handoffs are between those tasks, how long they'll take, what the responsibilities are. And then what if you could power that with AI so that every time you thought, oh, I'm not really sure, you could get a prompt and it would create a description or a checklist as a starting point for the conditions of satisfaction. At the click of a button, AI comes to your rescue. And what if it was structured data that you could export as an information delivery specification? One click, you've got an IDS, a structured set of requirements in a file that then can be used in multiple different places. And what if your model deliverables could automatically be checked against the tasks and the requirements that you've set already in your contract? And it would color code so that teams could self-check their deliverables before they even submit them, so that you would make sure that the quality is 100% before that model gets used for the purpose that it's being defined for. And what if all of those files that are created could automatically be named, automatically be stored, and automatically be filed in the right place inside of a clever data environment? Everything automated, everything integrated. And what if all of that could be integrated with all of the common tools that you use, things like Autodesk Construction Cloud and using Excel or Celebri for model checking? If you're using some of these tools today, why not make it automated and make a plain and simple streamlined workflow for you? So we had those four main pieces in our minds. Driven from templates, you could create documents with permissions, multiple documents in the same place. Driven from these smart fields, automatically completing everything, automating the version history, automating built-in approval process. What if your scoping could be driven again from templates and you could see this grid of information in a visual way, but also in a timeline, and detailed information requirements in a grid as well. And in addition to the status and the documentation required, the master information delivery planning, everything that you would normally define in multiple different spreadsheets, all in the same place. What if it could automatically check the deliverables? So the models being submitted could be checked against those requirements. And what if all of those files could be automatically named, versioned with built-in e-signature, custom metadata, and automation right the way through with smart folders? What we realized, what we were trying to get to was the same that we were doing today with Word and Excel and some of these other tools, but better, more integrated, more streamlined, more automated, all online, obviously driven from a database, and having that beautiful user interface that makes teams really want to actually contribute to the project, get to the accountability, and then follow through with the deliverables and make sure that you're getting what you need. Thankfully, what we've created is actually used by over 100,000 teams around the world. It's amazing to see it. And one of the comments was from an auditor that said, it's a dream to audit companies that use Planoly. And I think that that's both for the companies that are using Planoly and also the companies that are auditing companies using Planoly. For ISO 19650 requirements, it makes it a streamlined workflow. We have many case studies that you can see, but they range from things like fewer clashes that have resulted from a more sequenced process to growing company because taking that administration burden away from the teams and giving it to the right people and actually making it more automated. And then also, as you're doing this more integrated workflow and more open, more transparent workflow, actually gains a lot more trust from the teams that you're working for. So you're gaining client trust and building more opportunities for more repeat business as you go through and work with the same clients. Lots of people say really nice things about what we've done, and we thank you for being involved, but you can have a look yourself. Grab a free account, go to planoly.com, make sure you sign up and take a look for yourself. But there was one more problem for our industry, one more big Achilles heel, and that was a big training gap. So we saw a lot of really bad statistics when it comes to in-house skills and digital skills. And you can see there for yourself, not really having the proper training in place is also leading to owners feeling left behind and owners not really knowing how to define their requirements. And models then that get unused because they've not really been defined and been created in a way that can be used. So what we did was we created the largest 100% free library of resources in our industry that are all available for you as well. Lots of different courses ranging from the basics through to really advanced and expert level on ISO 19650 and more. They're all free of charge. They start with the level 1 basics, and that's basic BIM management skills. You then move into advanced processes and understanding how to implement and really integrate the workflow. And then we have expert level for ISO 19650 understanding for individuals, for companies, and getting a checklist that you can go through and understand the gaps for your company and see where you need to fill them in and how to fill them in and the templates to fill those in. And then a troublemaker course, digital troublemaker course for you to get even a business case to implement change management inside of your organization. And then we had a summer camp, which actually culminated in us answering these questions of why nobody looks at your BIM execution plan, why nobody understands your scope, and why it's difficult to check the deliverables, and also why teams are struggling to implement and understand ISO 19650. And that culminated in a boot camp that is now also available as well. There are 2 other training programs coming soon, so look out for those. Now what, I hear you ask, well, there are 3 things that I would ask you maybe to take a look at. One are those training programs that I just mentioned. You can sign up for all of them for free on the planoly.com/training site. Then also make sure you look at that checklist. The 19650 60-day program might be for you if you're interested in standardizing your workflows. And the third one is if you would like to try Planoly, we beckon you to sign up for free. Go to the app and you have a free account to look at it, trial it, and then maybe book a demo so we can share with you what other teams like you are doing with Planoly on their projects. If you're a university, a training partner, or a consultant partner potentially, then sign up for our partner program or take a deeper look at planoly.com/partner or book a meeting with us. We'd love to chat more. We have a LinkedIn group where we share more so you can stay up to date. Thank you so much. If you'd like to connect, throw me an email. We would love to hear from you. Good luck with your own journey. We know that they are very vast and different. But if you've got something to share, we'd love to hear. And if we can help, then we will. Thank you so much for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.